Right, hey guys, and welcome back. Sorry I've been away for a while. It's been such a busy few weeks, and I hope you guys have been doing great. I hope you guys have been doing well, and I hope everyone is staying safe from the coronavirus. It's now in a stage of further mutation. Apparently, it's become the Omicron version. I don't know. It's gonna become Unicron one day, and then it's gonna take over the world like the Transformers. So let's talk about the Red Notice. So I learned from this movie. The only thing that I actually learned is that a red notice is like the highest restraining order that can be given to a person. It's like something like the most wanted list or something like that. So they issue something called a red notice. Apparently they call it. I think it's like a slang among the law enforcement because I don't think it's like a general thing that people say, "Oh, he's been issued a red notice." I think it's just you get a like a I don't know a paper or something, red paper or something, and that's what they call it. Anyway, let me talk about the film. Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot, Dwayne Johnson, brilliant together, amazing together, super fun, super charismatic. I think the real highlight to this film is the overload of charisma from these three actors. Ryan Reynolds plays a more timid, more sleek, more like sort of like the a quicker version of an action hero in this because he tries to do the things that he tries to not do the things that Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, does. And The Rock always likes to be that big, heavy lifting actor, that super macho, alpha male dude in every film. So he gets to fulfill that role. And Ryan Reynolds sorts of, gets to be the beta male who instead uses his intelligence, his speed, his agility, and reflexes, and actually solves things more like everyone else does because no one else can be like The Rock, who is the ultimate alpha macho male who's, just there in every film. Gal Gadot, on the other hand, is the much needed woman in this film, and she fulfills an amazing role. She is definitely, I would say, sort of the lead character because she fulfills both as a villain and as a very important character that fits into the film. Now, as for the story itself, let me start off by saying that this is not a very good story. It's just a film more for kicks, more for fun, just for laughs. It's a very romantic and comedy-ish film. The romance is mostly between Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and I don't mean this in any gay form of way or whatsoever. It's just a good friendship that they come along to find along their path. But later turns out it's all been a build-up to nothing because it's sort of a double-crossing betrayal where The Rock betrays his friendship with Ryan Reynolds because he's actually married or some sort of in a relationship with Gal Gadot, which is not fully explained, but I believe they are married because they do say they have a marriage or something like that. And But you'll never know, right? The criminals in an underworld, they could just be married without any official paper because hey, why not? You can be married as long as you believe you're married. That's the way it works. So yeah, there's a lot of weird plot twists, and it's just all made for laughs, all made for fun, and they don't really amount to any character building, any story building, any world building whatsoever. There's just moments that are really cool to see, really fun, especially the opening sequence where Ryan Reynolds is caught stealing a one of the eggs of Cleopatra, specifically the first egg. And there's a chase scene between him and The Rock. And I thought if the rest of the film is going to be this exciting, I'm really all in for it. But it was not. The rest of the film was a bit of a letdown. There were some cool moments where they go and sneak up to steal certain objects, but there's no real intelligence involved. Everything seems a little bit too easy. They get to swipe certain phones and use face swap, and there's no real detailed planning or hacking or like how they want to take out people, how they want to look at the schematics of the place, whether they want to have specific unique equipment that will help them to do certain things or achieve certain objectives, especially when you're going into a fully guarded place to steal like some guy's mobile phone and his fingerprint. I think it would be a little bit more difficult because I'm pretty sure that they would be used to it because they have so many guards. Obviously they know that people are after Cleopatra's second egg, which is in possession of this some kind of I don't know, some real weird drug lord or something like that, or just a real billionaire playboy or something. So they go to the second place to steal the second egg, and they do manage it, and somehow they actually get double crossed by Gal Gadot, who plays this character called the Bishop, who's apparently the one who is always behind the scenes manipulating the things that happen between Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. And we are led to the point where all they are looking for is the location of the third egg of Cleopatra, which only Ryan Reynolds knows about. So it was about halfway through this film I realized that they just want to know the location of the third egg a little too much. Like I know they disguise Rock as an FBI agent who gets double crossed and wants to clear his name, and Gal Gadot, they disguise her as the ultimate villain. But it seemed a little bit too unnatural for everyone just to be wanting to know the location of the third egg that only Ryan Reynolds knows. So I think at that point I kind of realized that something else was going on. And yes, so much so, when they did go to find the third egg, it turns out to be a double crossing with by the Rock, who is actually on the side of the Bishop, who's Gal Gadot, and they both go up against Ryan Reynolds, and they actually get the third egg, and they take all three eggs in their possession to go and sell it to this very rich sort of Egyptian king or something, whose daughter, who he has named Cleopatra, is now going to get all three eggs as a gift for her wedding. But the real highlight of the wedding was the fact that Ed Sheeran was there singing, and like the real Ed Sheeran was there, and she completely ignores the three eggs to go for Ed Sheeran. But everyone is happy at the end of the day, and then all of a sudden the police invade the place, Interpol basically invade, and they arrest the king, get the three eggs, do not find the bishop or the Rock, and they there's a little funny sequence where they actually fight Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran actually fights the Interpol police with like a guitar or something, which was super hilarious. And then the film comes to an end where Ryan Reynolds goes back to tell the Bishop and the Rock that he had actually informed Interpol about their bank accounts somehow, and Interpol has taken away all their money, so he needs them to work with him to do another heist, so they can get more money. The film has no logic whatsoever, both in terms of the investigators and also the you know basically the people who are going around robbing stuff. Like you'd expect there to be at least some scenes where there was a certain sense of seriousness, especially the one where they're escaping prison and there's a whole bunch of guys shooting back and forth. No one gets hit by a single bullet. Ryan Reynolds even takes over a helicopter and opens fire. No one dies. A missile, like a missile lock, which is fired from a RPG, apparently goes through the door of the helicopter. I think you can see that in a trailer or something. I can't remember. But this guy fires an RPG at a helicopter that Ryan Reynolds is flying, and The Rock opens the door to let the RPG just fly through the helicopter. It doesn't work like that in real life because once the target is locked, it's going to explode even if it doesn't make contact. Because that's how the RPG works. And if it's not smart enough, usually the person who's firing the RPG will have a trigger button to trigger the explosion early or later if they want to. Let's say it misses the target, they feel they can still hit it, they can still click a trigger button to trigger it early. And I'm sure no one bothers about knowing these kinds of things. So yeah, whatever, the RPG just flies through the helicopter. So yeah, you can watch this film for just a bunch of laughs and just to just for these three actors. But as far as heist movies and action movies and comedy movies goes, this may be one of the worst of all three categories. Um, and is once again gonna be another one of those really really bad films that I'm gonna rate, and you guys are gonna hate me for it. But it is what it is. I really cannot disguise this film as something good. If you ask me, what's the comedy in this film good? It was mostly Ryan Reynolds, quite frankly. Like he's the only one who can carry these kinds of movies when they turn out to be some sort of a comedy film. Like the action element, I think anyone can do it. Any one of these three actors, with all due respect, are great action stars. Or any one of them can pull it off. As for the adventure part, the story was just so bad that there's no need to label it as adventure. But for the comedy part, of course, The Rock does his like facial expressions where he's like, pissed or annoyed or shocked or whatever. But that's as much as he does for comedy. It's not like The Rock is going to end up, doing something that's completely out of this world, making a joke or a quip that only he can make. It's not like Ryan Reynolds makes all the jokes in this film. He's sort of the victim that ends up being the subject of comedy. The other two actors are just too seriously portrayed in this film as the comedy goes around. And of course, The Rock ends up in certain situations where he gets electrocuted in the nuts by Gal Gadot, but it's not really a very funny moment at that time. It's just a whatever moment. So yeah. Anyway, here's my rating. It's between a 2 and 3, I would say. I'm gonna give it a 3, just to give it the benefit of the doubt that probably I expected a little more after the first scene in the film. And if the rest of the film was as good as the first chase scene between The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, because let you know that in the very first scene there was comedy, there was adventure, and there was action. All these three elements are very well portrayed in the very first scene. Where The Rock comes in, he solves the disguised first egg of Cleopatra, which has already been swapped by Ryan Reynolds, and they show a sequence where he creates a replica of the first egg in the title sequence, and he builds it. So you have the adventure of how this guy, this unidentified person, is creating the egg to place it there to swap it, and then he performs the swap, and then the detective Rock comes in, solves the swapping, and then chases after Ryan Reynolds, and then Ryan Reynolds goes around hilariously dismantling this sort of what do you call it? It's like a railing built up, like a scaffolding or something that is built up on the side of this wall so that these people can set up some stuff. And then he pulls out these pins in the scaffolding so that people just collapse back and forth as he tries to beat them. And it's really funny. It's really well done. It's very intelligent. And like if that was the rest of the film. Um, like even if there's no real story to it, I think it would have still gotten a 6 or 7 out of 10. And if there was a story on top of that, this might even have been an 8 or 9, because that's just how good the opening sequence was in terms of the elements that it carried, and also the quips that was done in those little sequences were good enough for the film to fulfill the roles of action, adventure, and comedy. But the rest of the movie did not carry that. It was not able to keep up to show you the creativity of the of Ryan Reynolds, who was able to build something like a replica of the first egg. They never did that again. They never built anything after that. Never used anything intelligent, never had another chase sequence that was as good, never had another moment that was as intelligent in the way he undid the scaffolding to defeat. I hope it's scaffolding, but undid that thingy to defeat all these guards that were after him and run away, and then finally gets tackled by the Rock or whatever, and then continues to escape, make his escape. So yeah, that sequence was just good, and I feel that they should have just done that like further forward. Maybe have certain moments where they were like keeping some mystery, solving some moments, and then building up to another sequence, something like that, similar to that, but in a different form or manner, and it would have been great. But yeah, they just did not do it after the first 10 minutes, and the rest of the film was sort of downhill. And then especially in the helicopter scenes where you can see that there's so many like bullets being fired, not a single person getting hurt. And I'm talking like the it's like a rail gun or something. Sorry, like a Gatling gun from the helicopter is really powerful. Chain machine gun or whatever. I don't know. There's so many names for it. But yeah, it fires and so many people get should be obliterated, but no one dies, and it's so amazing how it only hits boxes. But yeah. And yeah, the ending of the film, they wanted to make it something like a Jungle Cruise movie, where there's like where the characters escape on this like this what do you call this, a four-wheeler through like this cavern that's just gotta go out of a waterfall or something and then collapse into it. They try to take bring those jungle elements in as well in the end, but there were no booby traps in the German secret hideout. That would have been cool if they had like a booby trap sequence where the characters don't just solve a simple lock mechanism just to reach the objective. And I'm surprised that this was actually a 2-hour film. It like they could have done so much more with the time that they had, but they wasted a lot of it. I felt with this, as I said, this drug lord or something like that. That's like a guy who's into torture, a rich guy, and that entire sequence was just like whatever. No one really cares about him. No one really cares about the whole sequence. He was not menacing. He was not cool. He was not funny. He basically did nothing. Exceptional for the role he's supposed to play. So yeah, I felt that maybe they could have brought in someone a little more intelligent, a little more exciting to fulfill that role. Um, Maybe another recognized actor, maybe someone who is given a slightly better script, I think. And yeah, that's just my opinion of it. And if you guys have watched this film and you guys enjoyed it, well, good to know. For me, I think they could have pushed this more than PG-13, but if that was just their goal, then perhaps they should have stuck to the ideas that they had in the opening sequence, because those were amazing, and they should have just carried that forward, as I keep saying. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, and I do have something interesting to talk about, and probably it'll be in yeah, today or tomorrow or something like that. See you guys. Take care.